to share with you guys. So I'm going to turn my amazing pink song on. So if you haven't heard my story, I was sick with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's. So about in 2015, when I was at my lowest point, physically, mentally, emotionally, I will never forget laying in bed, just wishing there was someone I could talk to. Anyone that would understand how I was feeling not only with the sickness, but inside. Someone that could relate to me. Hi, thank you for joining. And someone that could just be comforting and empathetic. Or someone that was even going through the same thing and could be like, yeah, I get it, you know? And 2015, I was not really on social media. It was like kind of, new. And I never thought about posting or doing anything like that. I was really just in my house with my family, my immediate family, and I was out on disability. I was so sick. I couldn't work, and it took everything in me to just be able to do the dishes or do the laundry. And if I wasn't required to do a task around the house, I would be in bed, and I had no energy and I was just done. So I spent 6 months straight in bed like this and dreaded having to get out of bed. And I had multiple panic attacks a day, anxiety off the charts. And that was also a part of my debilitating situation, was everything I did put me in a panic attack. So I cried a lot. I just cried, and I just felt so alone. I remember one day I was so angry and tired of feeling alone. I'd heard about this blogging thing that you could do, and I said, I'm going to research it and I'm going to start a blog. And I'm going to call it, I Hate My Thyroid. And I'm going to just start journaling out how I feel so maybe, I can reach other people and find some other people that were in my same shoes. And I actually did start that blog. I remember literally setting it up. I wrote the title, and I was just angry. And it was an outlet for me to release because I didn't have anyone to talk to. And then the second part of that story that I'll tell you another time is when my brother was released from prison, and he ended up getting shot and killed by the cops a year later. So I wanted to focus right now on these feelings of aloneness. Part of what I do every day is I jump in my DMs and I just check on you guys, and I say, hi, how are you? How are you feeling? How are you doing? How's life? How's it going? And so many of you tell me every day, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm alone. The word alone constantly is getting repeated to me in my DMs. And I'm thinking, no, I don't want you to feel alone. I'm here for you. Why is this still happening? I'm thinking, why are women still feeling so alone? We have so much social media and hashtags and groups and all these ways to talk to each other. And yeah, sure, they help. It's so nice to read someone else's posts and you're like, oh, I totally get it. And you can write them a comment and you have that interaction, and it's sweet and it's cool. And some people, like, I've even made friends on Instagram who are in the same situation, and we would talk on the phone, and what an amazing relief that has been over the years. But I still am hearing it daily. I feel so alone. And I just got to this point where I was like, this is bullshit. I'm not going to let this happen anymore. I'm going to use my social media as a platform to help women come together as a thyroid community to stop this aloneness. And I realized that a part of the feeling of alone was because we're not live with each other. the posting and everything, that's great. And I love it. But you really need to feel each other. You need to see each other. You need to hear how our tones and our body language, the actual human interaction. This is what can help. So I've decided to use my social media as the platform, as a middleman, to be able to connect everyone together in this way. So what I've decided to do is I just want to ask you beautiful, amazing thyroid warriors to come on live with me and just simply share your story, because stories are powerful, you guys. And what we're going through, you don't know this, or you might not realize, but someone else is also going through the same thing. I know this for a fact because I hear it all day long. I'm going through this, I feel like this, I have that, I have this symptom, that symptom. You actually all are very much in the same boat, but because you're not like me talking to each other every day, you don't necessarily see it. So I thought, wow, what a great way to help bring us closer as a community, forge friendships, forge connectedness by you just sharing your story. And then someone else was like, oh, wow, I have that going on too, And then maybe I'm hoping you guys can even like reach out to each other and message each other and say, thank you so much for sharing your story. That really, helped me. And you guys can become friends. So I have nothing but amazing, great intentions out of this series. And I know it's going to help, and I know it's going to heal, even emotionally. So I put a post out last week. I launched this and I did a story that day, asked for volunteers. An amazing woman volunteered to come on and share her story with you guys today. Actually, a couple of you did. So I was overjoyed by the response and people that are willing to do this. So I'm going to bring on our first guest today to kick off the Thursday Thyroid Talk series. And we just need to get Natasha on. So Natasha, if you could just send me a request to join live. All I gotta do is accept it, and we're good to go. There you are. Good job. Okay. I'm so excited. There you are.
Hi,
Yay.
hi,
Hi,
Sarah.
beautiful.
Hi,
Oh,
nice to meet you
you
formally.
too. It's so good to hear you. See you. Wait, I gotta turn up my volume really fast. Okay. All right. So, wow, wherever you are, it looks beautiful. I love
Thank you.
your
California.
background.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So why don't we just start off with you introducing yourself? Tell us maybe a little bit about yourself, and then we could just dive into your story of your thyroid situation and what's going on with you.
Sure. Sure. My name's Natasha. I live in Bakersfield, California, and I was diagnosed with Graves' disease in 2018. Um, so it's kind of an interesting journey, and kind of frantic how it happened in the beginning. I began with panic attacks like you, rapid heartbeat. Um, Anxiety was not something new to me, so I kind of tapped into that early, and I just kind of thought, well, I'm hunkered down, I'm having some anxiety. Um, for about a year prior to this diagnosis, I was eating a vegetarian, plant-based lifestyle, and I was doing it cleanly. And then over the course of 9 months or so, I began eating a lot of soy-based products. And then I began losing weight rapidly. So I kind of lost about 10 pounds after cutting meat from my diet. And that seemed about average, nothing shocking. But then towards the 9, 10, 11-month mark, I began dropping weight like it was just falling off of me. I went in and had my labs checked, and my doctor found out that I had a thyroid problem, and that was causing my heart rate to elevate. So they sent me to an endocrinologist, and this begins the journey of self-advocacy. I was
Mhm.
introduced to a doctor who was convinced I was looking for pain medication. And I don't know if it was because I was frantic, I was shaking, my heart rate was resting at about 169, 150 to 169 on average. Just sleeping, I would wake up at a marathon rate of my heart. Um, so I had some mixed diagnoses in the beginning. They were telling me it was my heart. They were uh, insinuating that I was looking for pain medication. I fired that doctor and
Mhm.
found a new doctor, and that's when I began my journey. So I was not responsive to the medication for my thyroid. It was not slowing me down. I was at such a hyper state that we did radiation. But prior to that, I initially asked my doctor, look, I've changed my diet for the last year. I'm about I'm eating a lot more soy. Can any of this be connected? Like, I'm very in tune with my body. And she kind of laughed and snickered and said, no, you don't have that much control in your body, which was very much opposing to my own natural beliefs. But in our society, we have a thing with authority, and we believe and trust in our doctors. And then I just hit the road running. And so we went right into the radiation treatment, the iodine radiation treatment for my thyroid. And so I no longer have a thyroid. So I left Graves' disease, or I left hyperthyroidism, and now I am hypothyroid. It took about a year before I reached the state of hypo. That's how hyper my thyroid was. And when they burned out my thyroid with radiation, there was still all kinds of hormones built up in there, and it was still releasing. So they kept telling me you don't have any function, but I kept spiking hyper, and every time I'd get medication, it was too much. It's just an odd, confusing time and isolating. In the
Can
very
you
beginning,
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about what the radiation therapy is like and how that
yeah.
works?
So when I did the radiation therapy, you go into a radiologist, and they give you a pill that you're not supposed to touch it in any way. They come out with all these really big, scary gloves, and then you put it in your body. They won't even touch the medication with their own hands. They're completely gloved. It's because it can get through your skin. And then for a week, you have to be quarantined. So this was even before our quarantine. I was quarantining because even my puppy, my dog, my puppers, I couldn't touch her because it the radiation it comes out of your body. So um, you have to use disposable, you know, just to throw away your utensils, and you can't share and eat food. I was kept in my room. Um, and then I don't know that I felt it was such a horrible time. I was feeling so horrible that I don't really know what the difference was. It just felt awful. Like I couldn't sleep, wasn't sleeping. I didn't sleep for about a year. I was throwing up all of the time. Um,
So you went through the
and
radiation for a year?
Well, you just take that, it's a week, but that process of 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 healing from that radiation, because I was at a hyper state. So the radiation, what it does is it takes your thyroid and it shrinks it down. So I have the tissue there, and it's squeezed down almost like a raisin. But while it was squished in this way, there was still the hormones, and it was still kicking off my pituitary gland. So I was having the brain fog, and uh, I couldn't keep my thoughts. I'm experiencing hypothyroidism as we speak, so I'm also having some brain fog. But my words weren't correct. I couldn't get my train of thought. I'm a sign language interpreter. I work in education. I was interpreting lectures for students, and I was having difficulty with my memory. I was having difficulty with loss of my second language at the time. It was just really challenging and alone. And you're so confused, and your body's experiencing so much, but yet you look fine. You look like a
Mm-hmm.
healthy person. You're not missing anything visibly. And I myself am an active woman, and I push myself and I work really hard. And for me to be laid out and not able to work was really another layer of isolation that you have to
Yeah.
work through. It's hard
Yeah.
to explain to somebody that today I woke up and I can't walk. I don't know
Mm.
what's tomorrow, but today I woke up and every muscle in my body is tight, cramping so much. My joints hurt. I get um, on-site arthritis when I am experiencing my thyroid, as many I'm sure of you have experienced that. Um, it lays you up. And when you're a person on the go, even if you're not just not being able to have your day to day, wake up, get out of bed, and do my normal routine, it's startling. Then you lose sleep through all of this, and you've already got some brain fog, and yeah.
Yeah.
So, much like you, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to ask. I wasn't feeling trust with my doctors, and I sought some help through the internet. And I thought, well, what if I searched a hashtag thyroid? So I searched thyroid and Graves' disease, and I found a friend in all of this in the very beginning of my journey. And so when I'm experiencing something new with my thyroid, I started searching again, and that's how I found you. I
Mm.
initially found a friend who lived in Florida, and the reason why it was so important for me, albeit nerves, to do this is because when I was throwing up in the middle of the night, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, you can't tell people who you're going to call. You're just sitting here in your pajamas, just miserable. And I got on and I hashtagged thyroid, Graves' disease. And I found a girl living in Florida, hunched over her sink in the bathroom with her phone right there. And she was wiping throw up from her face. She was in a pink robe and her eyes were, and I just looked at her and like, that's me. That, that's me. I know that girl. I feel her. I feel her pain. I know what she's experiencing. And that was the first time I cried. Well, it's a lot of crying happening today, but I cried. It was the first time like I felt like someone else understands me. And I messaged her, and we've been friends ever since. And that's just a testament to the isolation that you feel. And it sucks because you get so depressed because this is a hormone disease. And I mean, you're getting so anxious and so depressed, and the anxiety is causing the depression, and it's just this perpetual cycle. And on top of feeling that, you don't have control of your own thoughts, and then you feel alone. So having someone who can go, "Oh, that's not craziness. That's your thyroid. Oh, you're not insane. You haven't lost your mind. That's your thyroid. Oh, that feels really good. We need more community like this. So I appreciate
Yeah.
you having us and having this space for us.
Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. And
So,
thank
so
you for
current,
being here.
yeah.
One of the first things when I opened up my coaching session, the first thing I tell my client is you are not crazy, you are not lazy, you are not weak, and you are not defective.
Hmm.
And just, I remember the
Right.
first time I
It's
heard
so
those
powerful
words.
because that's all you can think of is being defective.
Mm, yeah. And I will never forget the first time I heard that. I sobbed. It's that powerful. Um, So going back,
Yes.
I really loved what you said about your doctor and how you said I am, that's when I first learned self-advocacy. Um, that right there is a big struggle with this situation as well, is um, the amount of doctors that you have to go through and the amount of, I mean, it's called gaslighting, that we experience. And I love that you said I fired that doctor and I got a new one. Um, that's one of the big things that I also empower. I try to empower my everyone on is that you hired this doctor. You can also fire this doctor. You don't have to be
That's right.
abused or feel like you're not heard or made to feel bad
Right.
or insulted or any of the, nightmare stories that we hear all the time that
Yeah.
are people are being told. Um,
Yes.
so
This doctor told me, I'm not going to write you a prescription for painkillers. So if that's what you're looking for, go see your primary. What you have is a problem with your heart. And so I was seeing my heart doctor, and my heart doctor told me what I had was a problem with my thyroid. Or maybe it was psychological, go get some psych meds. They started giving me beta blockers, which expedited the depression. I was having suicidal thoughts. I went into that heart doctor and I told him, this is giving me suicidal thoughts. By the grace of God, I have a wonderful family who is supportive. I have the wherewithal to know. I recognize my own depression growing up. I recognize that this was outside of me. I recognize that these were not my thoughts. So I went to that doctor premising I have a strong support system. I understand that I'm not going to act on this, but my brain, something is going on. It's telling me to jump out of this. I need help, and I think it's this medication. He shooed me off. I have a surgery to go to, and I just couldn't believe after vocalizing that the man would walk away from me. And then I later found out, some dirty business. The thyroid doctor was married to that cardiologist, and I was going back and forth between both offices for about 6 months. And that's not cheap. It's not
wow.
cheap. And I realized, you know what? I'm paying, I'm paying these people. I've hired these people, and now I forevermore will approach my doctor's appointments as an interview. And if you don't qualify for me to pay you to take care of me, then I'm not. Then this is it. I have a new journey now with my thyroid. I went in and I had been about 6 to 8 months of leveled out with the levothyroxine. I'm taking 75 micrograms. I'm very, very sensitive to it. So every time I go up, I only go up 5 to 10 micrograms, maybe. So I'm at a state of hypothyroidism, so I'm alternating between 75 and 88 because they wanted to give me 88, and I told the doctor no. I know my body. That's too much. I'll alternate it and get myself there. But my advice to people is a journal. I have had 2 friends now who have experienced this after me, and I always tell them to journal everything, write everything down, because you have this state of forgetfulness. You have this state of brain fog. You're in so much pain some days that, I just couldn't think. I was writing down everything, and then everything the doctor was telling me, I was writing it down. And you can sift through that. You can go back on it later. You don't have to think about it right then. It's overwhelming, but have it. And I call them on it. That's not what you told me the last time. I've written it down. We need to come up with a better or a different plan. That's not working for me. I tried that for 3 months, and now here I am. So my biggest advice for people is to obviously self-advocate, number one. And what does that look like? It looks like being organized as best as you can for yourself. Journal, keep your labs, compare your labs, and don't always trust the labs. I never look to my numbers before I know something's up with my thyroid. I look internally. And that brings me to my next thing. And I am not a doctor, so I can't say, but in my experience, when they began giving me Xanax and antidepressants and medication for my joints, which are all really lovely things separately, if that was just the issue that I had. But those were Band-Aids. And all of those experiences, those problems that I was having were signals for me. And that's how I knew to look inward. So they kept giving me these prescriptions, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to take these things. I need to know if I'm feeling depressed, I'm hypo. If I'm feeling so anxious, I'm having too much medication, I'm hyper. If I don't have bowel movements, which is another thing that's very difficult to talk about, libido and bowel movements. Like, hello, 2 major things that are affected by our thyroid. And I mean, such taboo topics. Do you want to get online in front of the whole wide world and talk about that? It's just, And then
Yeah, that's it. You're right.
it,
That's
we're
huge.
it's huge. It affects everything. You know, when you're in a state of hypo, you're slow, so your hair's falling out. My skin's, and these are all just like the surfacey things that I don't really talk about because those are less important to how poorly my joints hurt or how bad my stomach hurts because I haven't had a bowel movement in a week type of thing, you know? It's just it's a really weird place and to feel so separated from the community. And when you do meet someone who's like you, those aren't really topics that you're like, hey, let's dive into that. But we should.
We
We should be
should.
able to. We need to. We need to.
Yeah. I mean, I just did a live, or not a live. I just posted a IGTV last week on low libido. That was brought to my
That's
attention.
how I
I
found you.
was Oh, nice. Yeah, I started getting a lot of I follow my intuition a lot with what I do, the
Me too.
content I put out, and it came to my radar and that the low libido was a big thing. And then I thought to myself, "Oh my gosh, how could I forget about that? This was a big deal for me too."
Huge.
And it was like I just got flooded with posts and information. It was coming at me, and I was like, okay, I got to cover this. This is huge. You
I
know,
watched that.
thank you. Yeah, it
Yeah,
did.
I watched that talk.
Yeah,
And I had
it was
already
hard to
thought
talk
that.
about.
And I already knew. And I'll be 37 this month. These aren't things that I feel like I should be experiencing at this age. But what do I know? And again, we don't, as a society, we're not talking about it. I don't even know what words to put behind it. We're not talking about having sex. You see how hard it was. I couldn't even say it. We were not having sex or not able to have sex or the uncomfortability of it. Or, you know, I'll just go out there and say when you're slow and your skin's dried out and your hair's dried out, everything is. And it affects everything. It affects the comfortability of it. It affects, you know, and when you're inundated with so much and there's so much to work through, just in that survival mode, those are the things that go to the back burner. Those are the things that I'm going to get to those, but I'm in survival mode. Today I have to figure out if I can eat. What can I eat? Is my stomach going to let me eat today? Like, what's up, girl?
Or
Thyroid, what are we doing today?
yeah, I used to feel like I don't even know if I can eat because I feel like I should just be drinking a lot of liquids right now so I can poo, you know?
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
yeah, so I ended up getting a squatty potty because I
I
was
think about
so,
those every day. Do you like it?
yes, I love it.
Okay.
It changed the game changer. It was like,
Okay.
I, I used to have such severe bloating and constipation from foods I was reacting to and the
Mhm.
inability to digest, break down, and absorb my food that um, it would just make me look 6 months pregnant, and
Yeah.
it was so painful. And I felt like it always made me feel like I just needed to do a big poo, but I couldn't. And
Can't.
so it was like all sorts of uncomfortableness. And so the Squatty Potty came onto the scene, and they had these really fun YouTube commercials with
Hmm.
like a unicorn pooing in rainbow
Yeah.
colors. And so I was like, I don't care, it's $20. I'm gonna try it. And so yeah, it's true. It puts you in a certain position and just helps you relax so you can go better.
Yeah.
And that actually made a difference. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. But
It's so ingenious. Like I'm 5'2", and any toilet I sit on, like my feet, how am I?
yeah,
And it,
wiggle.
I've
Yeah.
always been,
Oh,
I've always been this size. I didn't ever reach out of
yeah.
that size to have the experience, and it made me think like, oh, I hadn't even occurred. It just
Yeah.
never occurred to me. It just never occurred to me. I've recently been have had some talks with people about it, and we've kind of laughed like, laugh about it, but I'm ever since we've had that, even though I laughed about it, I'm like, they really are onto something. So I'm gonna go ahead and invest in one right now. I'll just say it.
I encourage everyone to get a
Good,
squatty potty. I'm just putting that out here right now.
good,
Where
good.
the thyroid community is going to make them make them have to
Yes,
create more.
yeah. We'll create a
Yeah,
whole new business line for them. So
yeah, right.
I slipped into hypothyroidism, and I had a question for you. Have you experienced mexedema, the swelling in
I
the face and eyes? It's typical, they say, usually in the legs. Of my eye, the ophthalmologist, when I was complaining about my eyes, he's like, it's usually in the legs, da da da. But my primary, I mean, I could send pictures to you. My faces, my eyes are completely swollen. Have you reached that state, or have you had any
so
experience with that?
I haven't. I know a lot about it, and compared to what other women are going through, I wouldn't say that I got there, but I did
Hmm.
always suffer with a lot of swelling underneath my eyes.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
I did notice that that was always directly related to something I would eat. Like if I had some dairy, then the next morning I would be really swollen. And I would even have some congestion. And then, like, yeah, my eyelids up here would be swollen. Everything would just be very swollen. And it was always
Hmm.
concentrated in my eyes. But as far as everything
Yeah.
else, and a lot of the women I talked to, I fortunately never had to deal with that. It was
Good.
mine was more severe fatigue. The I called it dragon ass. It was like I just couldn't
Yeah.
move. And
Yep.
then a lot of the GI severe brain fog. When you were saying that, I
Ugh.
absolutely had that. I couldn't even put my sentences together to speak. I would
Yes.
go blank in the middle of talking. I couldn't remember shit. I felt, and I always just, because you feel so uncomfortable and awkward, and that one symptom is so embarrassing.
It's so embarrassing.
It's so embarrassing that, I mean, I didn't go back to being a blonde from being like black hair, but for a minute it was like kind of fun because I was like, well, I am a blonde, like
Uh-huh.
you just pull it off that way. But yeah, I don't wish brain fog or memory loss on
Oh,
anyone. It that carves out a piece of your confidence when you feel like you can't even
100%.
speak or remember, and then you just feel stupid and embarrassed, and you're just like, it sucks.
Hmm. And
Yeah,
then and then in the back of your mind is that depression,
yeah,
right? So it just exacerbates
yeah,
everything. They
yeah.
all each one little thing is just compiling onto the next. Well, I noticed, and so let's bring it back to good old soy again. So I had been feeling really well, and I
Oh
began going
no,
to the gym, and
I gotta close my
we
window
got
really fast. The gardener
no
just showed up.
worries, no
Sorry.
worries, no worries. I love your pants.
Oh, thanks.
They're so cute.
Okay,
Okay,
sorry.
so it's okay. So I had been feeling the best I had felt since the beginning of this journey, and I started going to the gym. I was working out 4 or 5 times a day, like hard lifting, like I'm gonna put some because I hadn't gained back the weight from when I lost all that weight from Graves. And I was about, sheesh, 2, 3 months in. I started drinking protein. I was bulking up. I started gaining weight back. I got sick again. I hadn't been sick. I got sick again, and I crashed into the state of hypothyroidism where I looked at the ingredients and I didn't look, and there was soy
Mm.
and whey inside this protein. And my face, my body. So I think like a trigger for me, I don't know for everybody, but and I know that soy is estrogen, and we have a hormone problem. So I don't know, but I am avoiding soy at all costs, and I feel like it triggered me back into this spiral. So now I'm trying to play catch up again. My labs, my T3 my TSH was 27 in March when I got it, out of a normal range of 0.4. I was at 27. So it's that's what they were contributing to, that myxedema, that swelling in my eyes. And then I also found a ophthalmologist. Finally, I've gone to about 4 who keep sending me home telling me I have dry eyes. And over the course of a year, my eyes have been bothering me. I've been kind of not able to see at night. My peripheral is kind of blurry. Lights, oncoming traffic's really hard for me to see. And the eye doctors kept telling me I was fine. Go home, you have dry eyes. Put drops in your eye. Well, my thyroid has now turned its attention to my eyes. So I now am experiencing thyroid eye disease. And there's a new medication, which was how I found you, because I started hashtagging again. And there's a new medication on the market called Tepeza. And it's a infusion medication over 8 injections. It's like the course of 6 months. It's really hard on the body. Not much. It's much like chemotherapy, I suppose. And that's the only medication on the market that will stop the progression of this disease. The other alternative is like the orbital reconstruction surgery, where they go in and break and shave off this bone area and make space for your eyes.
Which to me just
but it
sounds...
doesn't stop the progression. Awful. Yeah. Sounds awful. And the other part about it is it doesn't stop the progression. So we make more room, we'll open you up, do all this stuff for you, make more room, but your eyes are still going to have that disease, where this Tepeza medication is the first of its kind to stop it. And it's got some pretty heavy duty side effects. Hearing loss, which is one of them, which is significant for a person in my field of business. As a sign language interpreter, I need to be able to hear for clients. So it's just, it's a hard decision to make, but I don't really feel like I have many choices. So I'm reaching out to the thyroid community. So if you post this out on your page later and anyone happens to watch this and you are experiencing thyroid eye disease and you have questions, or if you have anything like that, you could message me in my DM or your DM, get in contact with us. I really am looking for someone who's experienced Tepeza. What was it like for them? What did the days after look like for them? Did they experience any of the hearing loss or hearing problems that are attributed to the side effects? That's what I'm seeking help for within the community, because it's so new. There's not many reviews. There's not a lot of talk about it, and there aren't any blogs yet. Wow. So just really at a new stage of being lost. Yeah, it's scary.
Wow, that is scary. And I'll definitely talk to you afterwards about some things as well, that we could possibly work on together,
Great.
So
I love that.
Yeah. Well, we better wrap it up. Hi, Kim. Hi, Troy. Thanks for joining. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. You really have been through a lot, and you're very strong. And that's the one thing that I've realized for myself, that a thyroid condition does, is it really brings out the strength. And that's why I absolutely do agree and love the hashtag thyroid warriors, because it does turn us into these very strong, powerful women, even though we have to go through all of this, and we all are amazing researchers, and
and so powerful together.
Yeah.
Talk about the advocacy that we can do within our community.
Exactly.
One thing that my endocrinologist, which he has since retired, I don't have an endocrinologist at the moment, but this gentleman was awesome. And he would tell me that, he assured me, he says, a long time ago, before there were doctors like me, before there was endocrinologists, women would come in with thyroid conditions and they were institutionalized. because the only
Wow.
explanation that they had for their behaviors was it's hormones, women. Oh, you're just kind of crazy. You've lost your mind. And I can attest to that. I did lose my mind. It felt like I lost my mind. I couldn't I couldn't hold sentences together. I was angry with my own health, but I was also experiencing just a lack of control emotionally. And it really does just testify that it makes you think and behave in ways that appear like you're having a mental psychological break. And that's what we used to think this was. So when you're feeling that way, it's your thyroid, it's not your mind, it's not you. You're not you don't need to go to the loony bin. We're not doing that anymore. So I just felt like, wow, we've come a long way. But when you're feeling this way to the point where they're institutionalizing you, that we're still going to feel that, even though we've advanced so much in medical technology. We know that that's not the truth, but we haven't escaped from feeling like we should be institutionalized. This is not me, this is out of
Yeah.
body. So just knowing that there's other people out there that we can talk to and reach out. This is just a great space to hold, because when you have these mental, and this is Mental Health Awareness Month as well. So when you're having these feelings within your psyche, you need people. Reaching out to people and having a community like you're providing is just ever more important.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I definitely felt like I lost myself. I felt like I didn't
Mhm.
know who I was anymore. Like, and when I started reversing everything, it was an incredible feeling to just experience small things again that I enjoyed, and being able to find myself again and remember
Mhm.
who I was.
Yeah.
And I definitely know that that can all be obtained for all of you. And
Mhm.
you're not past the point of repair, I can tell you that. So,
Yes.
well, thank you so much for sharing your amazing story. I appreciate you. I appreciate you volunteering. Thank you so much.
Of
And
course.
if anyone wants to reach out to Natasha and talk to her, please do. If you want to reach out to me and talk to me, please do. We're all here for each other. And I plan on doing these series every Thursday at 11:11. I love my angel number.
Right.
And if anyone is interested in volunteering, please DM me. I'm sure you have an amazing, powerful story to share as well that we'd all love to hear. So I will talk to you soon. Have
All
a
right.
great,
Thank
great
you for
day.
having me.
You're
You too.
welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.